With the armchair judging, so particularly at the Olympics, we'll see it live, front on,
Yep.
we score it, and we're not allowed to see a replay of that. Whereas the people at home will see it, they'll probably see it from the side, and
Yep.
then they'll get an idea in their head, and then they'll probably see it another 3 or 4 times until they
Yep.
see what the judge's score has been. But just keep in mind that we are only judging from what we see, front on, one time.
Welcome to the SnowsBest.com podcast, It Takes a Village series, where we chat with Aussie athletes on their road to the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics and the village of people that helped get them there, from coaches to family members, judges, besties, officials, and more with your host, Miss Snow-It-All Rachel Oakes-Ash.
I'm super excited today because one of my dear friends is on the podcast and she is a FIS World Cup judge and an Olympic judge. And come Lavinia, she will have done 3 of the last 4 Olympics in judging of moguls, and at times she's also judged aerials. Welcome to the podcast, Zoe Jaboor.
Thanks so much, Rach.
See how polite we are. We're so formal. Where have you just flown in from?
Yeah, Ljubljana in Slovenia, which was,
wow, what were
if
you doing
anyone I was doing a judging clinic. So before an Olympics, we try and get everyone who's on the panel for the Olympics to go to the same clinic, and it just is an opportunity to discuss what we're seeing and try and get consistent with our scores, discuss any changes to judging or rules that might have taken place over their Northern Hemisphere summer. And so it was really awesome just to be in the same room, particularly working closely with the Olympic panel.
Were they all just moguls judges?
No, it was moguls and aerials. And then some of them also do free ski as well, so slopestyle and half pipe. But this specific clinic was just on moguls and aerials. So to be a judge, every year you have to attend one of these clinics and sit a bunch of different exams to ensure that you're up to date with everything in the sport and that you're able to judge.
How many Australian judges do we have for moguls in Livigno?
At an A licence or for Livigno? Just me. Yeah.
Just you. So how much money do we have to give you to get those medals?
This much money.
For those that can't see Zoe, she just put a big fat 0 up. Let's talk a little bit about how you become a judge. Like, do you have to be an elite athlete to start? Because clearly you were.
Yeah, no, you don't actually. We've got lots of judges come through that are parents who just they had an interest in the sport to try and support their kids through the pathway. And they ended up getting their license. So the judge who judged at the last Olympics, Paul Levisianos, he's a parent of an athlete. And just because he wasn't an athlete himself, it doesn't mean that he can't be a good judge. In fact, there's really not a lot of correlation. Some athletes all athletes should have a really thorough understanding of the rules, which kind of puts them in a good place to judge. But I guess there's a few different components that come through with judging, like being able to generate a number based on what you're seeing, which matches the criteria, is a skill that you kind of develop through experience and watching stuff and discussing, throwing out scores, going too high, going too low, hitting the mark. So, yeah, you don't have to be an athlete. But what we do in Australia is we've got a really great transparent pathway whereby you can judge just as an athlete where you haven't done your training, and you work with a qualified judge on that panel. And then if you think, this is really fun, I want to get into it, you can go to a clinic, you can attend a judge's clinic, and then you're awarded a national level license or a C license. And those judges can judge like inter-schools events and any kind of local ski events, moguls events, I should say. And then after that, you progress up to a B license judge once you submit your exams. And then the level above that is an A license. Now, it can take someone anywhere between 3 years and 7 years to become an A licensed judge. And in some countries, it can take 15 years to get your A license because, for instance, in America and Canada, there's such a huge volume of judges, or there were, that you're kind of waiting into your turn, really.
Wow. Okay. So it's quite
changing a little bit now.
Yeah, it's quite a process. But with judging, you weren't an aerial skier, you were a mogul skier. So
that's right.
How do you learn to judge aerials?
Yeah, so Look, not all moguls judges judge aerials, but because I was coming from Australia and FIS, it's very expensive to use me as a judge for events in North America and in Europe, and so they wanted me to get qualified in everything. When I first started, I kind of had a bit of an issue with it. I was like, no, I'm passionate about moguls. I just want to do moguls. But the more time I spent with the aerialists and watching aerials, the more I fell in love with it. And it's a bit of a different way of judging, and I really liked it. So, yeah, I love judging them both.
How is it different? Because I remember being in Deer Valley with you and you explaining to me how to judge aerials, and then me thinking I could actually judge them, and then turning to you and actually saying, "Oh, that was a triple whatever," or etc.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it now. I couldn't spout it back to you. But it was phenomenal how well you explained that to me as a layperson judge to watch, so that I actually got a real concept of the degrees of difficulty in a lot more finer detail.
Yeah. So aerials is like a mathematical equation, I guess. They've really refined the process of judging. So it's really broken up and specific. And moguls is less so. It's a little bit more subjective. And then when you go into for the free-ski events like half pipe and slope style, it's even less, so there's much more feeling involved in those sports. Now, there's a place for all of that, but having experience in all of the different disciplines, there's pros and cons to each one of them, I think.
Well, we're talking to Tori Beatty. We're going to talk to Tori Beatty all about judging.
Awesome. Well,
I know, right? She'll be all about the heart and the soul of the half pipe, right?
The vibe,
the vibe,
the energy.
That'll be the energy, the mana. So with moguls, let's talk a little bit about watching it and judging it as an armchair person. What are you looking for as a judge in moguls? You said there are particular criteria. What are the point systems and percentage for each bit?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll break it down for you. As I said, moguls is less scripted than aerials, but it's still pretty scripted, as you'll hear. So, moguls is judged on 60% turns, 20% speed, and 20% air. So the jumps, and each of those categories, other than the speed, is broken down even further. So turns, the 60% score that you get from turns is made up of 50% of carving. So that's actually the ski contact and how the edge or the tails of the ski need to follow the tip line of the ski. Now, that's something that takes a long time to train your eyes to pick up, especially when they're skiing so fast. Particularly in the men, they're skiing so fast and so dynamic that you really have to focus on how the tails follow the tip line of the ski. So that's worth 50% of the turn score. And then 25% is based on how still and stable the upper body is. And then the other 25% is based on the absorption and extension. So how quickly and dynamically the knees go up and down over the moguls. So we really want snow contact. Sometimes when the skier starts to get faster and faster, you'll see them, you'll be able to see their ski bases because they're going so quick and they can't extend down the backside of the mogul as quickly as they should be able to. And so that should reduce, that should reduce the base score of the turns. So it is still pretty scripted, right? And then you've got the airs.
Yep.
And that's judged on, so we give a score and then that score is multiplied by the degree of difficulty of the trick that they do. So amplitude, execution, their grab, their axis that they're rotating on all comes into play when you're judging air.
Wow. And so when you're watching it, just the person that's gone across the fastest isn't necessarily going to win. And that's it, not just in duels, that's also in single moguls. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And often what we see is the opposite, really. Sometimes athletes will go too fast and they will lose the integrity of their turn. And so their base score should be reduced significantly versus someone who's really controlled. But what you'll see, particularly in the men, is that they're able to maintain super speed with consistent, strong turns. And that's like,
it's primo, isn't it? So beautiful. Yeah. Like a Kuma. Watching a Kuma right now, I'm like, beside myself. He's so good.
I just think it's such a gift to get to judge and watch these skiers do, their art on these different slopes around the world. And honestly, that's kind of why I do it, is because I just love watching them. They're amazing. I still get excited when I see someone absolutely nail it.
There was did you watch the duels last year? I think was it the World Champs duels where everyone just crashed out, and then it ended up being Matt bronze, Akuma silver, Mikhail gold, or the other way around, can't remember. Dad podium. It was the second dad podium of the season. We love a dad podium. But that was horrendous because so many those men were actually competing with injuries that they had sustained in duels. What's the difference between watching duels and watching singles moguls as a judge? Because I understand now you can't actually watch replays of duels while judging. Is that right?
Yeah, well, duels is a whole nother kettle of fish. But I have to say it was hard. I wasn't involved in the World Champs panel, but it was really hard as a judge watching from afar because a lot of everyone was having a hard time with the course. The course was super difficult, and they all lost their integrity of their turn. So we didn't see a lot of really good quality. They were all just going too fast. Look, they were just trying to survive, I think, in all honesty. And it wasn't a great display of the sport, which is a bit of a shame. Hopefully in Livigno we're going to see something a little bit different, fingers crossed. But the hard thing is with duels, when you've got someone so close to you and you can hear them, it's really hard to try and really focus on the turns and not care as much about the speed. But in saying that, let's put that aside, duels is a different kettle of fish. So speed really does count for a lot. And so, do you want me to talk to you about how to judge duels?
Does it actually count for a lot? Like you just broke it down for singles. Can you break it down for duels, please?
Yes. Okay. So with duels, you get awarded 5 points, right? So you just have to keep in your head how good the skiers are, right? And you get to award those 5 points however you like. So you could go 3 points to the blue course, 2 points to the red course,
right?
1 point to the So you're only putting one score in, whereas for single moguls you're putting 5 scores in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally different.
Oh, that
totally
makes
different.
sense. Because I showed you a video of Cooper. I didn't tell you it was Cooper. You probably figured it out.
I did.
Cooper Woods, and who was he up against? Was it Cavey or
I think
can't remember.
Cavey.
Yeah. And we were at Deer Valley, and he came down. He was so fast, and I thought he was amazing. I was there at the bottom. And everybody was shocked that he didn't go through to the next round. And he won speed by a gazillion. So what went on there?
I need to think back about didn't we say there was a difference in DD?
You said it was turns.
Tricks. No, the airs.
The airs. No, you said it was airs. You did actually. You're right. I don't mean to misquote you. You did.
No, that's okay. That's right. No,
and obviously it was Australians that were pointing that out to me because we're a little biased, just a little. Yeah. And a lot of Australians said to me over the last season, those judges were so against Matt Graham. They underjudged him every week. And I'm like, did they? I don't know. Did they?
I don't think a lot of people you can get an idea in your head that judges don't like a particular athlete. And I just don't think we don't have time to look at who that is and whether or not you like them. You literally it's so fast. You're looking at the way they're skiing and you're judging based on what you see. So, I think I've spoken to you in the past, Rach, about each of the nations have historical techniques that are similar to other nations. For instance, there was a Finnish coach that coached the Japanese team. And so Finland and Japan kind of had a similar style for a certain period of time. And then Australia was kind of similar into that as well. We used a Canadian coach for a little while. And then, all the coaches after every quad or two quads, they might change around to different nations. And so you see similarities in the way some countries ski. I'd say that Australia is a real purist in how we ski. So we're focused on carving and the quality of the turn. And some nations might be more focused on dynamic speed and athleticism. And some, they jump differently. Their carving and their upper body is different. Now, what no one everyone thinks that they're right? Like that their way is the correct way. But how this is all decided is that there's a group of coaches from the main nations, and they form this thing called the Mogul Action Group.
Mm-hmm.
And they proposed rule changes and things like that. And then there's a group of judges called JAG, they're the Judges Action Group. And those two groups together with FIS decide what the rules should say and the wording. And basically judging just has to be that we're governed by those words in that handbook. Really.
But when you're judging duels and you're not allowed to watch a replay of it on video, how do you keep your eyes on two people at once?
Yeah, let's talk about duels for a little minute.
Okay.
Think about what I was saying before about carving and how it's all broken up. So in duels, we've got with a 7-judge panel, which is what will happen at the Olympics. We'll have only three judges will be judging turns. So those judges get 5 points to give out. Okay.
Right.
And then we've got 2 judges that can judge air. So those 2 judges get to give out 5 points. And then 1 judge who is responsible for calculating the speed points, which is a mathematical equation again.
And which judge will you be?
I'm an air judge.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So this is actually my first Olympics where I've judged air. Yeah, I judge air all the time in other World Cups and in local events and whatnot, but I've never judged air in the Olympics. So it is a fair amount of pressure, and particularly given that this is the first Olympics for duels, a lot can go wrong with duels. It's like you just never know what's going to happen. Anyone can win.
It's a spectator sport, though. It is definitely a spectator sport. Yeah,
it'll be amazing either way. But for the air judges, it's a fair amount of pressure. And as you said, Rach, you've got to be able to watch the 2 skiers go off the kicker at the same time and identify what the trick is, identify what the axis was of that trick, and identify the grab. And then with this one, there's no calculation of degree of difficulty, so you just have to calculate it in your head at the time. So, for instance, let's say we've got a duel where there's a 10 OP or a 10 OG, so an off-axis 1080 with a grab, and on the other course, on the red course, we might have a 1440 with a position like a cross in there. Now, you've got to be able to differentiate between those 2 tricks within a split second. Write your score down or note down what the tricks were, and then prepare yourself to get your eyes up to watch the bottom airs. The top airs are like particularly difficult because most of the athletes will focus their degree of difficulty on the top air, then in the middle section they're just trying to get their speed, and then at the bottom we often see like back crosses, back grabs, loop grabs, because they're wanting to maintain that speed to get over the finish line first.
But having been an aerial judge will surely help you being the air judge in moguls, or not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes and no. But aerials is so prescriptive, right? So exact. So when we see like a back full and a back double full, definitely my experience in aerials helps me in moguls. But then when you've got the cork tricks where you don't have to be quite as exact. They do get a little bit of leeway. So when we're judging, actually, I think I've got a printout of it here.
They're not grabbing their skis in aerials, are they? So
they're not grabbing, and they're not going off. They have to be on axis the whole time. Yeah. So this is an example, like with a cork, with anything off axis, you get this amount of leeway. Okay. So this is the green zone where they can do it. Anything in the yellow and the red, the score has to be reduced.
So if you're listening on the podcast and can't visually see it, we'll put a link to that in the episode description. We'll put a little graph or something if we can. Basically, it just shows you a round circle with a big green triangles. It's like a clock. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
it's like a clock, and at about like 7.5 to 10.5 is the green zone.
Yep.
And 1.5 to 4.5. So if you're in that off-axis range, perfect. Yeah. Anything else?
Great. And I understand that a lot of the judging in the FIS World Cup is now done remotely. Does that make that difficult as well?
Yeah, it changes things for sure, particularly in air, because you don't get to see like the big picture in relation to the slope and what the rest of the environment around you is doing. It also makes it tricky if there's camera issues, delays, if the feed is a bit hazy, or if there's fog.
Jesus.
like a droplet of water happens to get on the lens of the camera and the skier skis into the droplet of water and you can't actually see what they're doing. So
what do you do in that situation? Like, that doesn't seem very fair to the athletes.
No. Look, there's pros and cons for remote and pros and cons for face-to-face. I'm a huge believer in face-to-face just because of the integrity of the scores. And I think, like, as a head judge, basically that dealing with that situation when the judges lose the vision, that pressure falls to you. So you have to make a call whether or not you request a rerun for that athlete or whether or not you put the score in. The other thing,
you mean they have to compete again? They have to do another run?
Another run.
Oh
yeah.
my God,
yeah.
that's
very
horrible.
rarely does it.
Yeah.
Very rarely does it happen, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think if I was an athlete and the judges didn't get to see my run, I would probably want them to watch it. You know, I've been training my whole career for this moment, and if they didn't get to see it, I'd rather them watch it again than have to put a score in that they don't feel.
I'd like them to
confident with.
watch it again, but watch it again on film. I wouldn't want to have to
Yeah.
run it again because I've
Run
just
it
given
again.
my all and been
Yeah.
focused to get that run. And if my second run isn't as good as the first, then I'll forever berate myself over that.
Absolutely, and it also works the other way around. They might stuff up the first run, and then the second run they're like, no. So it's a point of contention. Like
Right.
FIS don't want to do reruns, understandably, because they've got an event to run. So yeah, it's a really tricky thing. Like, I think face to face is better for the results. Look, when I'm a judge from Australia and I'm judging, say, an event in like Deer Valley, for instance, which runs through my night time, it's easier, you know, when the event finishes and I close my laptop and I can go home. It's a lot easier, but I don't feel good about it. So it's really tricky for judges in Australia because we're always judging during the night time. But look, I understand why this is happening. It's just
Why?
I think,
Why is it? Is it money?
yeah, money, sustainability. I think COVID changed a few things. Most judges around the world, they don't like it. But yeah, what do you do? You know, moguls and aerials is the only FIS sport that's doing it.
Can you fight it? Well, you say, what do you do? Can you fight it? Can you
Yeah,
go, we're not going to
we
do
are.
that?
We are. Yeah, the JAG
Have you put together a new committee, an AG committee? Because you've got MAG, JAG, or do you have like PAG, protesters of, yeah.
There is already, the AG committee is actually great. All the coaches are so wonderful. And I think because they all are fighting hard to keep the sport alive because it's not quite as popular as moguls, they all work together really well in the
What's
AG
not quite as
committee.
popular as moguls? The duels? Or are you talking about aerials? Oh, you're talking about
Yeah.
aerials. Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
So I didn't
because
realise
AG,
we'd skipped over.
the
Yep.
aerials action
Oh,
group. AG.
Gotcha. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not as popular. And it's interesting, you know, because the aerials is such an exciting event to watch live. It really is. You really get to see, oh my God, these people are literally risking their lives. I mean, obviously they have a lot more experience that the risk is mitigated. And then you look at the Australian team and you think now how far we've come and how far we haven't come in terms of since, you know, Christy Marshall and Alyssa and Lydia, etc. And now our team gets coached with the Swiss team. We don't have an Australian coach, and we don't have an Australian team, so to speak. They all work together. We have one male. Who'll be, I guess, in the teams because they are doing teams in Livigno, Riley. And he did well last season for his rookie. Well, was it his rookie season or second season? I can't remember. Pretty sure it was his second or third. And it feels as though aerials is fading away over here while moguls is coming more into focus. Yeah,
it's hard to know. I think we do have coaches that work with Mish, the Swiss coach that's also working with us.
We do.
We do have some Italians in there.
Yeah.
And there is a big presence from Australia on the World Cup tour, and it's really nice when you go to the events and you see them all. And there is a presence. The other thing
I mean, we win podiums consistently.
We do
We
really
win
well.
Crystal Globes. We win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
the girls, they're so amazing, and their dedication to the sport and to what they do. It's a pleasure to watch. And
Absolutely.
also, really, Dave Morris, who was
Yes.
before Riley, our only other male aerialist,
Silver medalist.
who did kind of create a pathway too for boys in the sport. But I think that the other thing that's nice about that is that because they all train together, there is a more of a sense of cohesion amongst the teams. Olga is one of the aerial judges for the Olympics from Ukraine, and she was a former athlete, and she's been fast-tracked through. And we were having a good chat about it. She was like, everyone supports each other, and that happens a lot in aerials, and it happens a bit in moguls, but because aerials it's just like a small, tight-knit community, I think that there's a beautiful thing in that, really, all the teams supporting each other. Like the Australians won't leave until they've watched all of the other athletes. Yeah.
No, they won't. I was at Deer Valley in February this year, and I was there during the aerials when we won gold, silver, bronze, and fourth in the women's aerials. I've just got goosebumps even talking about it. It's just a moment of my life I'll never forget. And those girls, watching all those athletes, even the ones that weren't getting on the podiums in the Australian team, the more rookies, they've come down after their jump, they come round the side, they stand there at the bottom of the run, watching everyone else, cheering them on. They'll talk to you if you're standing there as well. There's none of this, oh no, my run is over, I now need to get wherever. They are literally standing there clapping and applauding and watching everybody else. When those girls got I don't know what the difference to the word trilogy is. What is it when it's four of them? Oh, it's a trifecta. Oh, right. Okay. I won one of those once at the races. Anyway, trifecta. The four of them, we were all celebrating. It was so exciting. Ski Patrol actually created a pathway for me to get from one side of the aerials viewing platform to get over to the girls just in time because they knew it was Australia. I was the only Australian journalist there. They're like, let's go. We get there. As we're all celebrating, the girls suddenly, and I'm interviewing, I think, Laura or someone, and one of them goes, oh, hang on, 1 second. And everyone stops and looks up because the Swiss men were now competing and they needed to support their team members. And I just thought, you are amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, it should be standard, but how fantastic.
It should be standard, but it isn't. And there's just a huge sense of camaraderie between all of them. And it's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah.
So tell me, what did you think of Charlotte Wilson on the last FIS World Cup? Rookie of the Year, 19, beats world number 4, world number 3, world number 2, world number 1 to get gold in dual moguls at the World Champs. It was at Livigno, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Livigno. Yeah.
Tell me what you think.
Yeah, super exciting. Like, this is the thing about duels is that these things happen. Anything can happen on the day, and if you can keep a clear head and focus on what your coaches have spoken to you about and go in, anyone can beat anyone. So it was so exciting to see, and she skied amazingly. She genuinely.
But to be fair, I mean, she reached almost every super final in her rookie year. I think there were like 2 that she didn't. So she was already on point before she got to those duels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, she's, I think like the thing about someone like Charlotte is, behind the scenes, she is consistently turning, carving, getting those higher base scores, slowly reducing her deductions. And so she's not like the first person in the back of your mind when you get drawn to her at a duel. Except then, silently, she can just like go through and climb up the ranks. So, no, it was such an exciting thing to watch. No,
it was so exciting.
She's showing a lot of promise.
I feel like she's I'm probably overselling her. I don't know. I feel like she's a once-in-a-generation athlete.
Oh, right. Good on you.
I know I'm calling it early. But I honestly and truly think she is. She is. You watch her, and she's so focused, but not over. She's not overshot focused. Like you watch her and you go, oh, you're not going to overshoot that. You're actually you're so consistent in what you're doing. And I don't know if that's an intrinsic element of who she is as a person or whether that's coaching. What do you think that would be?
Do you know, I try really hard to not pay attention to individual athletes.
Okay. Shall I talk you through all the Australian athletes, and then you can pay attention to them more, particularly in Lavinia? Jakara, yeah. Okay.
No, I'm like I obviously know them, and in Australia it's a really tight knit community as well. So everyone knows everyone. But particularly in the lead up to a games, I try and watch as many runs as I can, and this year obviously I'll just be watching as many jumps as I can. And the other judge that I'm judging air with, we've just spent the last 4 days together talking about scores every day. And then over the next couple of months we'll have regular meetings probably every fortnight to go through specific jumps and watch. Now when we're doing that, we never use athletes' names. We never use every now and then we might say, because we'll see the colour of their jacket, the US athlete from Kazakhstan, but it's like you try really hard to be very removed from them, because the less I know personally about these people, the better. I'm just there to objectively watch what they're doing in the air and how they land.
So this is watching retrospective historical footage, or are you talking about actually watching the FIS World Cups? Because you'll be judging those too, won't you?
Yeah, I'll be judging those, but no, I'm talking about watching previous World Cups, mostly from last season and the season before. So we'll go through and we'll just pick one jump. Say we might spend most of an evening talking about back fulls, or then we'll move on to 10 OPs or BPs or whatever. Every time you put a score in, you put a jump code, a 10 OPs and a 1080, an off-axis 1080 with a position in there. So we'll just pick one jump and watch so many of them so that we can start to work out what our range should be and make sure that we're seeing the same thing. Because it's really important that we both agree, because in turn scores, the high score and the low score is dropped, but in air, both scores count. So it's really important.
Right. So just talking through a little bit of terminology for the armchair watchers,
judges,
of armchair judges, of where there's quite a lot of them. What's a 1080? What's a cork? What's all that stuff?
A backflip, I think we know what that is, right? Now that you can just do a back lay, which is just a really laid out straight backflip, or you can do the backflip with a position like a cross, or you can do a grab. And each of those things have a different degree of difficulty. And then you can do a front flip. You can do a front flip with a position, or you can do a front flip with a grab. And then it gets into that you can do 360s, same position or grab, 720s, so 2 rotations in the air. And then at sevens, we start seeing off-axis rotations. And so that's when you bring that clock back in and you're wanting to be in that green zone of the clock to make sure that you're at the right axis. And in those tricks, you can do positions and you can do grabs. You can do up to 2 grabs. We don't see it very often. And then after 720, then you go 1080. So that's 3 rotations in an off-axis position with either a position, so your skis crossed, or a grab. And the grab can be any type of grab. It could be like a tail grab or a mute grab where you're reaching your opposite arm over to your opposite ski. It could be a truck driver grab where you're grabbing both of the skis with your hands. Now it's and then after 1080, 1440. So 4 rotations. Wow. So they're spinning pretty quick at this point. It's illegal to do 2 backflips. So that's why we're seeing
top jump, bottom jump. You can't do backflip, top jump. Oh no, illegal to do 2 in the air.
Backflip, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in aerial. You got to go.
Yeah. No, that's aerial. We're not talking aerials. Were you talking? No, aerials? No. Yeah. But in aerials, you can do triples and
say they're doing a backflip, mute grab, and you can't really see the hand on the ski because it's behind their body. Then it's your score is going to be lower because they're not presenting it. So what we see is we want to see the hand probably a bit further up near the nose of the ski so that it's really clearly demonstrated. So maybe away from the binding a little bit. Yeah.
Are you allowed to repeat tricks? Sorry, go on.
No, you're not.
No, I mean in different runs. So are you allowed to repeat a trick once you've done your run? Now you've made it to the big final. Yeah, right. And are you allowed to repeat that trick again? And then are you allowed to do it again in the super final?
You can. I know
but
where you're going.
Not in aerials, but not in aerials.
Right. So in aerials, it's quite tactical in that you have to plan out your degrees of difficulty to ensure that you can kind of move through the next round. But in moguls, no, you can't repeat a trick from the same category in the second jump if you've done it in the top jump. but you can, once that run's done, chuck it out onto the next run
gone.
and start again.
Start again.
Yeah.
And
Now,
what do you think?
I was going to say, sorry, Rach,
Go for it.
with the armchair judging, so particularly at the Olympics, we'll see it live, front on.
Yep.
We score it, and we're not allowed to see a replay of that. Whereas the people at home will see it. They'll probably see it from the side, and then they'll get an idea in their head, and then they'll probably see it another 3 or 4 times until they see what the judge's score has been. But just keep in mind that we are only judging from what we see front on one time. We're just starting to use, in my opinion, I think we should be able to use technology to really ensure we're getting the results right. But obviously that can mean that it's longer to score, and we're trying to keep that time down because the event organisers have a schedule that they need to abide by. So I know that we don't have an unlimited amount of time to score, but being able to review, particularly the airs, would be really handy.
Wouldn't it? Is that the same in the FIS World Cup? You're only judging front on? This feels very unfair to the athletes.
And the judges.
Oh, sorry, yes. Poor judges. Yep.
But I think, we're starting to be able to review to ensure that the grab is got. But now there's a rule that if you say, I couldn't see the grab, so I can't be sure, you can ask to have a review from the side angle just to confirm whether the grab was there. But if that's the case, you get a reduction in your score.
Okay. So the athletes know this, and they know they've got to present in a way where the judges
it's up
can
to their
see
coaches
that.
to be able to teach them that way, that they have to present the grab really clearly to the judge,
This is going to be the last Olympics for a few mogul skiers.
I never say never. I don't discount any of them because especially Kingsbury's got so much experience. He's so solid on his landings. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
but he did slip a little bit this last season. He wasn't right. He wasn't gold every single time this season. Imagine that being your problem. Wasn't gold every single time. Actually got silver or bronze. Dear me.
Yeah.
And it is exciting. I mean, obviously, I personally have an investment in seeing a dad podium again at the Olympics, and wouldn't that be great? I mean, the photos alone of Michaela Kuma and Matt holding their children up with their medals would just be like global, worldwide media success. But the Olympics, of course, is always I personally think that the Crystal Globe is more important because it shows you've been consistent throughout a season, and it's every season, and the Olympics is only once every 4 years. But that's when the Winter Olympics in Australia tend to slip a little bit into the mainstream, and the average person starts to know a little bit more about winter sports, etc. And it's anyone's game because it's once every 4 years.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the results of the past few games, you'll see that it's not the consistent skiers often that are on the podium at the very end. So
except for Jakara
at the Olympics.
except what do you say? Except for Jakara, I'm calling her Ars now, because she was consistent, and she's won every glass thing you can possibly win on the FIS World Cup. So but no, I know what you mean, and it is. I mean, if somebody like Michaela Schifrin, I mean, she didn't have a great last Olympics, and she is a GOAT as well. So it's an interesting concept. What do you think it is? Do you think it's the pressure? Do you think it's what?
Yeah, I do. I think that the Olympics is a whole different mental game, and you're carrying so much. Some people will have a target on their back, and how they deal with that is going to be unique to every individual. I think, as you and I both know, Rach, everyone has a different brain and a different perception and perspective, which has been built up from previous experiences. And
speaking of which, what do you think the percentage of athletes with neurodivergence is?
Really
this is a whole other episode. But it's a whole other episode. But Zoe and I are both ADHD. But it's interesting because on a trip recently, every single ski instructor I had at every single different resort I went to, every single one of them had ADHD. And I was like, this makes so much sense. It's your constant dopamine. Nothing stays the same. It's all or nothing. You can talk nonstop with your people, and then you're moving on to the next guest, etc. It just all made so much sense. And I often wonder that hyper focus of athleticism.
Yeah. I think it's similar in judging. I'd say there's a lot of judges with ADHD because they can just hyper focus on different things, break it down.
But then what happens when you're no longer interested in it anymore? Because if you're not interested in it, you'll be looking for you got to get out, right? Got to get out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed your run. I missed your run. I was too busy distracted by something else. Oh my God.
It's really hard to do, when you're judging, particularly at a World Cup, because there's so much pressure, and when you're on remotely, you're on you've got a phone call in one ear with the air judge, and then you're in the other ear, you've got the whole panel and the head judge. And so it's really hard to lose focus because there's just so much going on. Yeah.
Right, it's a whole other episode for sure. Can't thank you enough for coming on today. The Armchair Guide is so integral for people watching the Olympics come February.
Can I just do one quick wrap up of the armchair stuff?
Yeah.
So if you're watching at home, just try and remember that the main thing you're wanting to look at is the skis and whether or not the tail of the ski is following the tip line consistently through the moguls, and that is going to be worth more than anything else. But you also need to consider the jumps and the speed.
I've always just looked at the knees and whether the knees stay together.
Yeah, well, they only account for 25% of your turns. So, yes, the knees are important, but it's more the up and down part of that that's
Is
important.
that why they have those patches on their knees so you can see that they're together all the time?
Bring the judge's awareness to their knees to demonstrate that they're really using absorption and extension so that they can max out those scores.
Lavinia is just going to be amazing. The Athlete Village is actually 3 hotels side by side with cordoned off. That's the Athlete Village, which I just think's hilarious, downtown Lavinia, right? Let's hope we have quite a few medal parties to attend. I can't wait to hang out with you side by side, although I won't be in the judges' box, obviously. I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I know how important armchair judges are. It certainly helps everybody understand what they're actually watching and what judges are looking for. And hopefully a few athletes have tuned in as well and got some intel on judging and perhaps they will, I don't know, grab better. Who knows?
I know. Or, all of those retired athletes, when they finish up, give me a call.
Why, you want them to be judges? No, can you imagine me being a judge? Well, because
I can.
I'm too judgmental, and I'm also too biased.
And you're very chatty. You would be
and
like, judge more, be quiet.
No, judges would tell me to shut up. I'd be like, did you see that jump? What did you think of that? That was not bad, actually. Thought it had a bit of flair. I don't think you can judge on flair, right?
So Jürgen, who I'm judging air with, he is the most chatty person I've ever met, just constantly. Even when we're quiet, he's just like mumbling away to himself. It's like his inner dialogue is constantly being spoken.
No, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad, no. Although I do talk to myself a lot, but no, I'm not that bad. Not at all. I mean, we do, anyway, we could go on. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Zoe. We really look forward to debating your scores across the FIS World Cup season and at the Olympics in February.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the SnowsBest.com podcast. If you like what you hear, be sure to review and subscribe via your favourite podcast platform. Like @MissSnowItAll on socials and hit up the SnowsBest.com website for all your snow travel banter. This episode was produced on the land of the Gundungara people. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present.